Stop. Don't say anything for a second. I want you to think about the last time you spoke English, in a meeting, on a call, in a conversation with someone, and you walked away feeling like something just wasn't right. Not wrong, exactly. Not broken. Just, not quite you. Like you were wearing a suit that almost fits. Clothes, but not tailored. That feeling has been bothering you for longer than you'd like to admit. And the worst part? You can't put your finger on what's actually causing it. Your vocabulary is strong. Your grammar doesn't trip you up anymore. You can follow native speakers without rewinding. By almost every measure, you're advanced. And yet, that gap is still there. Subtle, stubborn, and incredibly annoying. Here's what I think is happening. And this is something I've never heard another English channel talk about in quite this way. Most advanced learners are fluent in the dictionary version of English. But native speakers don't speak the dictionary. They speak something much messier, much more alive, and honestly, much more interesting. They speak in loaded phrases, in emotional shorthand, in sentence structures that break every rule you were ever taught and somehow sound more correct for it, and until you crack that code, until you stop learning English and start absorbing it the way a native does, you'll keep feeling that subtle wrongness. That residue. Today is the day that changes. This is part 8 of the Bold Speak English C1, C2 Masterclass series, and I'm going to be real with you, this might be the most practical episode we've ever done. Because today isn't about theory. It's about getting inside the actual mechanics of how native English sounds in the wild, and rewiring the way you produce it. We're covering 3 things today that almost nobody teaches at this level: loaded language, sentence-level stress patterns, and what I call conversational momentum, the invisible force that makes some people sound magnetic when they speak and others sound like they're just reciting information. By the end of this video, you'll have all 3 in your toolkit. But first, I need you to hear something that might slightly offend you, and I say it with complete respect. If you are still, even slightly, forming sentences in your native language first and then translating them into English before you speak, you are not doing it wrong. You are doing exactly what your brain was trained to do. But you are also putting a permanent cap on how natural you'll ever sound. And that cap? That's the exact ceiling we're smashing through today. Let me give you a taste of what I mean right now, before we even get into the lesson. Here's a sentence most C1 learners would produce when they're frustrated. I was very annoyed because the situation was not handled well. Clean. Correct. Zero personality. Now here's what that same frustration sounds like when it's native and alive, honestly. The whole thing was handled terribly, and I just kind of had to sit there and watch it. Do you feel the difference? The second sentence doesn't just report the emotion, it recreates it. The listener doesn't just understand, they feel it with you. That's the gap. That's what we're bridging. Repeat after me, out loud, with some actual feeling behind it. Honestly? The whole thing was handled terribly, and I just kind of had to sit there and watch it. Say it again, but this time let a little disbelief creep into your voice, like you still can't believe it happened. Honestly? The whole thing was handled terribly, and I just kind of had to sit there and watch it. Notice what your voice did? It didn't just say words, it performed a lived experience. That's native-level English. That's where we're going today. Stick with me. This gets really good. Let's start with loaded language, because this is the single biggest difference between C1 and genuine C2 expression, and most people have no idea it even exists as a concept. Loaded language doesn't mean dramatic or exaggerated. It means using words that carry more meaning than their dictionary definition. Words and phrases that, when a native speaker hears them, instantly understand not just what you're saying, but the entire emotional and social context around it. Let me show you what I mean with a simple example. If I say, she's a bit much, every native English speaker in the world immediately knows exactly what I mean. She's overwhelming. She's high maintenance. She takes up too much space in a room. She might be loud, or intense, or dramatic. All of that, in 3 words. A bit much. That's loaded language. Compare that to, she is sometimes difficult to interact with socially. Which is technically accurate, but carries none of that weight. None of that knowing. When you say something like, she's a bit much, you're not just communicating information, you're signaling that you understand the social texture of the English-speaking world. That's enormous at C2 level. Here are 3 more loaded phrases native speakers use all the time, and I want you to really sit with what each one carries, not just what it means. It's not a great look. This means something is embarrassing, inappropriate, or damaging to someone's image. But it's said with a detached, almost ironic coolness. Like you're observing it from a slight distance. It's not angry, it's knowing. I'm not going to lie, this one is fascinating. It doesn't literally mean you were about to lie. It's a signal that what comes next is going to be honest, possibly uncomfortable, definitely personal. It creates intimacy in a sentence. When someone says, I'm not going to lie, that really got to me, you lean in. Every time. It is what it is. 4 words. And yet, resignation, acceptance, a refusal to overdramatize, a kind of world-weary wisdom all wrapped into one phrase. It's not defeat, it's perspective. Now, the challenge isn't memorizing these. The challenge is internalizing what type of moment they belong to. Loaded language lives in context. And the way you internalize context is through the method we're going to practice right now, shadowing with intent awareness. Here's how it works. Instead of shadowing a sentence and thinking, am I saying this right? You shadow it while asking yourself, what is this person actually trying to make me feel? Let's practice this together. I'm going to give you a short passage, something you might hear in a real conversation between 2 native speakers. Shadow it line by line. And while you're saying it, I want you focused entirely on the feeling underneath the words, not the words themselves. Ready? Here we go. Look, I get it. It's not an easy call to make. But at some point, you have to stop waiting for the perfect moment, because honestly, it's not coming. And the longer you sit on it, the harder it gets. Say it with me, slow first, then at natural speed. Look, I get it. It's not an easy call to make. But at some point, you have to stop waiting for the perfect moment, because honestly, it's not coming. And the longer you sit on it, the harder it gets. Now feel what that passage is doing emotionally. It opens with empathy, look, I get it. Immediately, you're not being lectured. You're being understood. Then there's a gentle but firm pivot, but at some point. And then the loaded core, the perfect moment, because honestly, it's not coming. That word honestly dropped right before a hard truth? That's not an accident. That's native English doing what it does best, softening a blow while delivering it with full force. This brings me to the second concept, sentence-level stress patterns. Here's something that will genuinely change the way you practice from today. In English, the same sentence, exact same words, exact same order, can mean 4 or 5 completely different things depending on which word carries the stress. Let me prove it to you. Take this sentence, I never said he stole the money. 7 words. 6 completely different meanings depending on where the stress lands. Watch. I never said he stole the money. Meaning, someone else said it, not me. I never said he stole the money. Meaning, I absolutely did not say this, ever. I never said he stole the money. Meaning, I implied it, but I didn't literally say it. I never said he stole the money. Meaning, maybe he borrowed it, or took it some other way. Feel that? The grammar never changed. The vocabulary never changed. But the meaning changed completely every single time, just through stress. This is not a party trick. This is fundamental to sounding natural in English, and it's something that non-native speakers almost never practice explicitly. So here's your drill. Repeat after me, and each time, shift the stress to the word I emphasize. Really commit to it, make that word land. She didn't say it was wrong. Stress on wrong. She didn't say it was wrong. Stress on say. She didn't say it was wrong. Stress on she. That drill, 3 minutes a day with any sentence you like, will do more for your spoken English than 2 hours of vocabulary study. Because you're training your voice to carry meaning, not just transmit it. Now, and here's the part I've been building towards, and I genuinely think this is the most important thing I'll say in this entire video. Let's talk about conversational momentum. Have you ever noticed that some people, when they speak, you just don't want them to stop? There's a pull to their voice, a forward motion to the way they talk, and you find yourself leaning in without realizing it. And then there are other people, perfectly intelligent, perfectly articulate, and something about the way they speak makes your mind wander. Not because what they're saying is boring, but because the momentum dies in the gaps. Conversational momentum in English is built by 3 specific things: forward-leaning phrases, spoken signposting, and strategic unfinished thoughts. Forward-leaning phrases are words that signal to the listener, without saying it outright, that something worth waiting for is coming. Phrases like, "and this is where it gets interesting," or, "here's the thing nobody talks about," or even, "wait, actually, before I get to that," these phrases do something incredible. They create a tiny, instant investment in the listener. They make the next sentence feel like it was earned. Spoken signposting is what keeps a listener mentally oriented. It's the difference between a speaker who says "and then," "and then," "and then," which creates narrative fatigue, and one who says, "so that's the setup." Here's where it falls apart. 2 sentences. Total clarity. The listener always knows where they are in the conversation, which means they can relax and actually hear you. And strategic unfinished thoughts, this one is subtle and powerful. Native speakers leave tiny gaps on purpose. I mean, it's not like I expected it to go perfectly, but, and then they pause. Just for a beat. And the listener fills it in mentally, which means they're now participating in the story rather than just receiving it. That participation creates connection. That connection creates the sense that the conversation is alive. Put all 3 together, and this is what advanced conversational English actually sounds like. Not perfectly constructed sentences delivered one at a time. A flowing, intelligent, emotionally alive stream, with texture, momentum, and pull. Repeat this passage after me, and this time I want you to perform it. Own it. Say it like you're the smartest, most relaxed person in the room. Here's the thing nobody talks about: getting better at speaking isn't really about learning more. It's about getting out of your own way. And the second you stop monitoring yourself, stop editing in real time, that's when it actually clicks. I mean, I know that sounds almost too simple, but say it again, full pace, full ownership. Here's the thing nobody talks about: getting better at speaking isn't really about learning more. It's about getting out of your own way. And the second you stop monitoring yourself, stop editing in real time, that's when it actually clicks. I mean, I know that sounds almost too simple, but that unfinished "but" at the end? That's not an error. That's a hook. That's conversational momentum at work. I want you to think about what just happened in this video. We started with a feeling, that quiet, persistent sense that something in your English is still slightly off. And we gave that feeling a name, and then a cause, and then a solution. That progression, from frustration to understanding to ability, that's exactly what advanced fluency feels like when it starts to click. You've now got 3 new tools that almost no English course at any level ever explicitly teaches. Loaded language, the ability to say more with less, to signal social and emotional intelligence through word choice. Sentence stress, the ability to control meaning through delivery, turning the same words into completely different messages. And conversational momentum, the invisible architecture that makes a speaker magnetic, present, and compelling. But I want to leave you with one mindset shift that ties all of this together. Because the techniques are only half the battle. Here it is: the most natural-sounding speakers in any language are not the ones who make no mistakes. They're the ones who make mistakes confidently. Read that again. Confident mistakes sound native. Hesitant perfection sounds foreign. Think about the most charismatic speakers you know in English, the people whose voices you'd listen to for hours. Now think about whether they're flawless. They're not. They trail off. They restart sentences. They use the wrong word and then correct themselves mid-phrase with a casual, "Well, not exactly, but you know what I mean." And it sounds fantastic. Because the confidence and momentum carry everything. The imperfections are just proof that a real human being is doing the talking. What this means for you is radical permission. Permission to stop waiting until you're perfect before you speak naturally. Permission to trail off, to restart, to use a loaded phrase and land it even if the pronunciation isn't quite there yet. The delivery is the message. The confidence is the content. Here's your homework, and I'm being serious about this because the people who do the homework are the ones who show up in the comments 2 months later saying they've had a breakthrough. This week, I want you to have one conversation, with a friend, a colleague, a classmate, anyone, and your only job in that conversation is to use one forward-leaning phrase. Just one. Something like, "Here's the thing though," or, "And this is actually the interesting part." Use it once, naturally, in context. That's it. One phrase. One conversation. That's not a small thing. That is you consciously installing a new pattern into your natural speech. Do it once, it feels strange. Do it 3 times, it feels normal. Do it 10 times, it becomes you. And that's what this whole series is about, not adding English on top of who you are, but making English part of who you are. Seamlessly. Permanently. If you've been with us since part 1 of this series, first of all, you're a legend, and second of all, you already know how much ground we've covered together. If this is your first episode, go back and start from part 1, not because you need to, but because what we've built across this series is genuinely one of the most complete C1, C2 speaking programs anywhere on YouTube. And it's all free. Right here. Subscribe to Bold Speak English if you haven't already, hit that bell so you never miss a new episode. And drop a comment below with the sentence, "I'm not going to lie, this actually helped." Because if it did, I want to know. And I want you to practice that loaded phrase in the wild right here, right now. You're not almost fluent anymore. You're just fluent. Act like it.